Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on redundancy. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. So once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca, with our username as well as our password, all right. So redundancies, right? So we're going to find out now what redundancy is. But before we do so, we said our chapter is redundancy. Our subject is English language arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on is to remove redundant words and phrases. Right? So we're going to remove redundant words and phrases, and our chapter is redundancy. All right. So redundant words, right? So redundant words as well as phrases. It repeats information that is given elsewhere within the sentence. So it repeats information that is given elsewhere within the sentence. But then again, also unnecessary repetition, it creates wordy, unpolished sentences. So that is why even when you are writing, you cannot have a run on words, right? Once you start repeating certain words, remember it creates wordy, meaning there's just a lot to read, but it's an unpolished sentences. It's like your sentences are not properly flowing, right? So removing redundant words or phrases, it can improve your writing. So which means that you're going to then have to remove certain words or let's say redundant words, right? In order to improve your writing. So remove unnecessary words, unnecessary information that should be added on there that is not necessary. All right, if we look at an example, it says the monuments that we visited in Washington, D.C. were huge and giant. So the monuments that we visited in Washington, D.C. were huge and giant. All right. So we see the monuments that we visited in Washington, D.C. were huge and giant. And if we look at the words huge and giant, right? Remember, we said that we are like if you repeat unnecessary words, it creates just a wordy and unpolished sentence, right? And if we then remove certain words, right? And then it will basically improve our writing. All right. So we said that words like huge and giant, right? These are unnecessary words, right? Because now it's not that a word is being repeated, but basically huge is a synonym of giant, or giant is a synonym of huge, which means that it is basically the same thing, right? Which means that giant is the word that we added afterwards. It is redundant and should be removed from the sentence. So then our sentence will only be the monuments that we visited in Washington, D.C. were huge. All right. So last month, Julie and Alex collaborated together on a project for the marketing team. And if we look at the sentence, right, that is redundant, and then we can say that the sentence, or not even the sentence, the word that is redundant is together, right? Because if you collaborate with someone, right, collaborate is basically like doing something together with that specific person. So when it comes to redundancies, right? So we see that we remove redundant words and phrases. And I'm sure once we remove redundant words and phrases, right, the whatever that you're writing will improve, right? So last month, Julie and Alex collaborated together on a project for a marketing team. All right. And we said here when it comes to collaborated and together is one thing. And that is why we say the redundant, right, is let's say together is redundant and it should be removed from the sentence because together and collaborated is one thing. So we see that the word collaborated already implies that we are working together, right? So the word together is redundant and we remove that type of word. Remember, we remove certain words if a word is already used, right? Or it's already repeated. All right. So once again, we said redundant words and phrases needlessly repeat information that is given elsewhere within the sentence. And then unnecessary repetitions, right? It creates just worthy and lengthy sentences, which means that there's just a lot of words within that sentence, but it doesn't mean anything. It also makes it very long and lengthy. All right. So remember, any other repeated words, right? We remove it, and then that word becomes a redundant word, right? So any word that is being repeated, any word that is written twice, we come and let's say the redundant is used, right? And then it removes that specific word from the sentence. All right, so now we're going to A plus students.ca. Let's quickly do our little activity and then we go back and we're going to do our test. So we remove redundant words or phrases. And once again, we say redundant words and phrases. It repeats information that is given elsewhere within a sentence. Unnecessary repetition creates wordy and polished sentences, and removing redundant words or phrases can improve your writing. All right. If we look at number one, it says the patient's medical chart indicates that he receives the injection at 4:26 in the morning. All right. So we see that the patient's medical chart indicates he receives an injection at 4 a.m. in the morning. And if we are going to select the redundant word, then we're going to say in the morning because 4:26 a.m. is already in the morning, right? So we don't still have to repeat the word and then also say in the morning again. All right. So we removed in the morning from that sentence specifically because 4 a.m. Yeah, it says that he receives his injection at 4:26 a.m. in the morning. Remember 4:26 a.m., especially a.m. already gives us the indication that it is morning, right? So we don't have to so repeat the word and say in the morning because 4:26 a.m. already gives us the idea that it is, for example, the afternoon or let's say the morning, sorry, 4:26 a.m. already gives us the indication that it is in the morning. And redundant words and phrases, it repeats information that is given elsewhere within the sentences. Unnecessary repetition creates wordy, unpolished sentences, removing reductant words or phrases and can improve your writing. All right, so we removed a.m. in the morning, sorry. We need to select the word or phrase that is reductant and can be removed without changing the meaning of the text. For example, since my sewing machine is broken, I'll have to do I have to manually mend the hem on the jacket by hand. So we need to sew since my sewing machine is broken, I have to manually mend the hem on this jacket by hand. All right. So and if we're going to select the redundant, right? And then we're going to say, since my sewing machine is broken, I'll have to manually, we're going to use the word manually, mend the hem of this jacket by hand. And the reason why we're saying manually is because manually is the same as by hand. So since my sewing machine is broken, I'll have to manually mend the hem of a jacket by hand. So like I said, by hand is already the same as manually, right? So we will remove manually from that sentence. The committee has decided to postpone the instructions training workshop until later. So the committee has decided to postpone this instructor training workshop until later. And if we're going to select the word or phrase that is reductant and can be removed without changing the meaning of the text, right? Then we're going to say postponing something is already saying that until later or till tomorrow, right? All right. We said once again that reductant words and phrases, it repeats information that is given elsewhere within the sentence, and unnecessary repetitions create wordy, unpolished sentences. Removing reductant words or phrases can improve your writing. And just once again, redundant words, right, are words that are like unnecessary repeated words within a sentence. And those unnecessary repeated words within the sentence, right, it creates it to be wordy or lengthy, right? It's like the words that is being written within your writing piece, it is just very long. All right. So now we're going to our test where we are going to remove redundant words or phrases. And remember, redundant words or phrases are added words, right? Those unnecessary added words that we've added on in order to, let's say, make our writing piece lengthy, right? But once you do that, it just becomes wordy, a lot of stuff to do, and then eventually you are repeating, right? So since my sewing machine is broken, I'll have to manually mend the hem on this jacket by hand. And if we select our correct or the redundant to be removed, all right. So you said my sewing machine is broken and I have to manually mend it on his jacket by hand. And we said manually is our answer that was repeated or that is being repeated. The heifer is quite large in size and will fetch a good price at the livestock auction. All right, so we see that the heifer is quite large in size and will fetch a good price at the livestock auction. All right, then it says the heifer is quite large in size and will fetch a good price at the livestock stock auction. All right, and a heifer, right, is when we say it is quite large, then it is almost like a, So we see that this heifer is quite large in size, and this heifer is like a baby cow, right? And will fetch a good price at livestock auction. Is it in size or large? Let's quickly try this one. I'm not sure. So it's in size. That is our redundant. All right, we need to select the word or phrase that is redundant and can be removed without changing the meaning of the text. The twins are a pair of actors who recently appeared in a documentary about personality differences among siblings. All right. So we say the twins are a pair of actors who recently appeared in a documentary about personality differences among siblings. If we look at the words twins, right? Twins is two, which means that twins already comes in a pair. So we're going to say a pair because, like I said, twins is already a set of two people, right? Two boys or two girls or a boy and a girl, right? Which means that a pair is two. So let's say two, a pair. All right, well done. Now we need to select the word or the phrase the redundant that is redundant and can be removed without changing the meaning of the text. All right. The practice of bloodletting, taking blood out of a patient's body, was a common medical practice historically in the past. So, bloodletting, right? Here it says bloodletting is taking blood out of a patient's body, right? And they say it was a common medical practice historically in the past. Historically already gives us an indication that it is to do with the past, right? So which means that we're going to our redundant is going to be in the past, because if we say it was a common medical practice historically, it already tells us that it is something that was in the past. All right. So in the past, it is correct. The two insurance companies, which are based in Wichita, Kansas, merged together last year. So the two insurance companies, they merged together last year, right? And I think it's together because merging, right, is already putting two things together, right? So merging, especially if you maybe try doing it on your computer and you're putting two tables or two columns together, that is like merging it. So we'll go with together. All right. And the committee has decided to postpone the instructor training workshop until later. If we postpone something, we're already telling people that look here, it's either going to happen later, it's going to happen tomorrow, or it's going to happen on a later stage, right? That is already what we mean when we say postpone. So now it says the committee has decided to postpone the instructor training workshop until later, which means that until later is going to be our redundancy. And the patient's medical chart indicates that he receives the injection at 4:26 a.m. in the morning. And the last one, we're going to say that the patient's medical chart indicates that he receives the injection at 4:26 a.m. in the morning. And once again, 4:26 a.m., right? It is already in the morning. Unless they just said 4:26 without putting AM, then we could have decided if it is AM or if it's PM, right? But when they say 4:26 AM, remember AM already means that it is in the morning. PM will either tell us that it is in the afternoon or in the evening. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on redundancies. We see that redundancies are words that are repeated, right? Usually, what we do in writing is we would add other things to our words, add extra words to our writing piece. Our writing piece will be long and wordy, but then it will be unnecessary repeated words, right? So when it comes to redundancies, it removes certain words that has been repeated, right, within the sentence, right? So that is at the end of our lesson on redundancy. Thank you very much for joining the class. Have a good evening further. Goodbye.